So looking at parabolas, there are two different types of parabolas. They can either open on the y-axis, which is up or down, if it's y equals x squared. And if it's x equals y squared, then it will open on the x-axis. So if it's y equals, it's y-axis. If it's x equals, it's x-axis. And if it opens up, if A is positive, down if A is negative, it'll open to the right if A is positive, and to the left if A is negative. So it's the normal positive y-axis, positive x-axis directions based on if A is positive or not. And in both cases, the vertex is HK. Just remember that whatever is grouped with the x is your H value for the vertex. And if it's grouped with the y, it would be the k value for the vertex. So when it comes time to graph, the first thing you're going to do is mark the vertex. You're going to put a point there. Then you'll identify the direction. So will it open up, down, right, or left? And then we're going to use this little trick about parabolas, about 1a, 3a, and 5a. So for number 71, x equals -2 y minus 3 squared minus 5. So the first thing we need to do is identify h and k. So here's y, so this is k that's grouped with it. So that'll be a positive 3. And then this -5 is our h value. You do keep the sign with this. You don't change it like we have in the other examples. In hyperbolas, ellipses, and circles, because it's not grouped with the x. You only change it when it's grouped. So the 3 changes signs, but the 5 does not. And it's x equals y squared, which means it opens on the x-axis, so it will open either right or left. And since it's a negative, it will open to the left, which means it will graph that way, starting with our vertex. So our vertex is -5, positive 3. It will open to the left, so we're going to go to the left. And to figure out how much we go to the left, we look at the 2. This is the 1a, 3a, 5a trick. So a is 2. So that's 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times, it's actually -2 because a is -2. 3 times -2 is -6. 5 times -2 is -10. So that means that we go -2, so that means we're going left. Opens to the left, so we're going 2 spaces left, and then we will up and down 1 unit from the vertex. If there was room, we would then go from that new point, we would go 6 more spaces to the left and up 1. And then from our other point, we would go 6 more spaces to the left and down 1. And that will draw, or that will give us our points so that we can draw our parabola. So we'll take a look at another one now. H is -2, so our vertex is at -2. And then k would be 1. So -2, 1 is our vertex. This is a y equals x squared. So it opens up and down. It goes with the y-axis. And since a is positive, it will open up. So it will actually graph this way. We can still do the 1a, 3a, 5a trick. In this case, a was 1. So it's 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 1 is 3, and 5 times 1 is 5. So from our vertex, it's going up because it was positive 1 in the y direction. So it goes up 1 and to the right 1. And you can do that on both sides of the vertex. Next, we will go 3 spaces from our previous point. So from this new blue point that I have plotted, we're going to go 3 more up and 1 away. Same thing from the left side, we'll go 3 more up and 1 more away, so 1 more to the left. And then if there's room, you can go 5. We'll make room, we'll go a little bit off the graph. And 1 more space. Same thing on the other side. Go up 5 and 1 more space out. And now you can draw the parabola. And now we'll look at how to convert parabolas from general form to standard form. It is important that you first know that it is a parabola, because it's a slightly different way that we'll convert than we did with ellipses and circles and hyperbolas. So rather than what we did for those, now we're going to make it be the y or the x by itself. It's going to be easy to know because there's no x. If it was just a y, there would be no y squared with it. And if it's just an x, there's no x squared with it. And now you know which way to set it up. If either the x squared or y squared is missing, that's what we solve for, is that variable. So we will need to factor out the a if there's a number in front of the squared term, and then complete the square as usual. The slight change is that we're not going to put it on the other side. We're just going to put it with a negative a and fill in the blanks with the same way. So whatever goes in this blank will also go in the other blank when we complete the square. So we have a y squared, which means we're going to solve for x. There's no x squared, so we know it's a parabola. We solve for x. So that will be negative y squared. Move it over. Negative 8y when we move it over. And then we'll have a blank. Now we do have this 19. We're going to put it way in the back. But we moved it over so it does become negative 19. So now, when we're converting, we have to factor out the a, and we're going to have 2 parentheses, really. So let's first factor out that a, negative 1. And our blank. And then we'll have a again, so negative 1 and another blank. And then this 19, the constant term, we're just going to keep it in the back again. So we're going to complete the square. So half of 8 is 4, 4 squared is 16, and the same 16 goes in the other blank. So now we have should have negative a here. So now we have negative outside parentheses with the 16, and we have what will turn into a positive outside with a 16. So that cancels each other out, which is the important part of keeping the equation balanced. So it is x equals negative. When we complete the square, we get y plus 4 squared. Plus 1 times 16 is 16. Minus 19 is negative 3. This is now standard form. So we have h and k, and we know that a is negative. So our vertex is -3, -4. And A is negative, so when we do 135 times A, it's -1, -3, -5. And since it was x equals, it'll be -1 in the x direction, so we'll go left 1. So the parabola will look like that from -3, -4 for the vertex. Do one more, completing the square. So this time we have an x squared and an x. Y is the one that's going to be by itself, so let's keep it. So it becomes a positive x squared when we move it over, and a positive 4x when we move it over, and a positive 1 when we move it over, but we want it way at the back for right now. So in this case, A, we don't need to factor anything out, so A is 1, which means this will be -1 times fill in the blank. Now we complete the square. 2 squared is 4. We're going to add 4 and add 4. So this is a perfect square, x plus 2 squared. Now this is -4 plus 1, which is -3. So we get our vertex of hk, h is with the x, so -2, -3. And then a is 1. So we do the 1a, 3a, 5a, and we get 1, 3, and 5. And it's y equals, which means it will be going up 1, up 3, and up 5. So you will start by plotting your vertex at -2, -3, and then go up 1, up 3, and up 5 to draw your parabola.